Hello and welcome to my review of the Vindicare Assassin. I've got two of them here. The one on the left is the one that you'll probably find if you pop into your Games Workshop store or if you look on their web store. It will cost you £19. It's quite pricey, I suppose, but typically you're only really going to get one of them. I got the one on the left with the Execution Force box set a good couple of years ago or so, which contained all four Assassins, and I was a fan of the original Assassins. I've got the older one right here on the right. It's probably about, I want to say, 20 years old or so. It's metal. It comes in two parts, well, not including the base. Just his sniper rifle just glues onto his right arm there. I think the left arm is sort of already built in. The main reason I'm doing this review is because they've got some new rules, new 8th edition rules in the Marches edition of White Dwarf. If you want to pick it up, it looks like this. Really cool. Yeah, it's a great little surprise. They've recently also put the Inari rules in the Maze edition of White Dwarf. Anyway, let's have a look at the models, and then I'll do some size comparisons, and then we'll go through those rules. So this is my old version of the Vindicare Assassin, and I used him in my Space Marine army nearly every time. He just wrecked face. There was just something about his long range sniper rifle that always wounded and that caused a lot of damage, and I could pick different ammunition. I also loved his invulnerable save, his 4+ save, and that he couldn't be targeted that easily, but he was a bit squishy in terms of I think his toughness was only 3. It could have been 4 though, but he only had 2 wounds, so you know, I tried to keep him away from any sort of close combat. But I really liked this model when it first came out. I also liked the other one, but I never picked up the other one, the one that's aiming. So yeah, unfortunately I've just got this one and the newer plastic one, which is right here. Hopefully you can see it with the lighting. I'll try and do my best with the lighting here, but this Vindicare Assassin, again, he's got this blade. I think he's got his pistol in his holster there, and he's got the sniper rifle. It's changed a little bit in that the sights, that optic sight, the top of it has been reversed. It's just got more detail, and it's got an Aquila on there, and the suppressor looks better. Definitely a cool model, and I like the fact that they've put some scenery there for him, so you can paint that grey or brown or whatever. Proper scenic base, so that's kind of what you pay for as well. Yeah, his feet are a little bit big, kind of got like clown shoes, you know, especially like the left foot is quite big. I don't know whether they're in proportion, but you know, he's quite a bulky kind of guy, in a way. That's because he's wearing this awesome looking body glove, this body suit. It's quite hench look at those traps, you know. Anyway, that's the newer model. Let's do some size comparisons. First of all, I like to do some comparisons with the current Assassins. So here's the Calidus Assassin. She's a very tall model. She is, I say, a little bit taller. She's on the scenic base though, that really adds to the height, but also, you know, draws you in. Such a stunning looking model. Then I've got the Calexis right here. He's on a scenic base, which makes him look taller than the Vindicare. And then the Eversaw, again, he's leaping off this piece of wall or metalwork or bunker. I don't know, probably in a bunker, probably inside some kind of bunker. And he looks taller. So all of the other Assassins look taller than the Vindicare, but his sniper rifle is just a little bit taller than the Calexis. Anyway, they're all very good looking models in their own right. I just want to show you a couple of comparisons with some Imperial models. So Space Marine, Space Marine's always been a bit bigger than the Vindicare Assassin, which is fine, but the newer Vindicare Assassin is almost the same height. Almost. He is taller than the older model, definitely. He's sort of like a few inches taller. That might be because of the scenic base though as well. And compared to an Intercessor Space Marine, yeah, an Intercessor Space Marine is definitely a lot taller because of that extra organ implant. Anyway, hope those size comparisons help you get an idea of how big one of these Vindicare Assassins are. So let me go through a little bit of the lore, and then we'll go through his rules. So the Vindicare Assassins are the cold, calculating killers that eliminate their targets with contemptuous ease. They aim to bring inglorious death to the enemies of the Emperor with a sniper's bullet. They've elevated the skills of marksmen to an art form. They can pick out a target's jugular vein or pupil from extreme range, even should the distance be traced through the ruins and smokestacks of an underhive sprawl. So they have their superhuman accuracy, and they've also got stealth and evasion techniques. They can slow down their metabolism to an almost hibernatory state. An operative's heart beats perhaps once per minute. Now, an elephant's heart rate is about 8 to 10 when it's laying down, but a blue whale is just 8 to 10, when it's just swimming along. But blue whale's heartbeat can be heard for up to 2 miles away. Luckily, this Vindicare Assassin's heartbeat won't be heard up to 2 miles away, but you get the impression that this is crazy that you can have one beat in a minute. Of course, we're in a science fiction universe, but still. They're always in great demand to support Imperial forces on the battlefield. A massed Eldar assault was halted by a lone Vindicare Assassin. They can pinpoint shots that can kill exarchs, warlocks, and support weapon crews. Their tools of the trade is the Exitus rifle. It's no ordinary sniper's tool. It's a magnificent weapon purpose-built for these assassins. They have a various number of ammunition types, that have to get through the physical and metaphysical. Shield breaker shells that have to get through Imperial force fields, Orc bubble fields, and rune magics by the Eldar. There's turbo penetrator shells, which are segmented cylinders. Each are tipped with concentrated melter charges. So a single bullet can blast through successive layers of armour, no matter its thickness or composition. And then Hellfire shells, which have a cocktail of acids, keyed to maximum lethality against the Imperium's corporeal foes. And they can chew away at chitin and are very good against tyrannid organisms. As well as that Exitus rifle, they also have an Exitus pistol, which has that special ammunition too. So that's the size comparisons and a little bit of the lore. I think you'll find they're very interesting characters. They are the quintessential assassin. When you think of an assassin, you think of Hitman, John Wick, whatever. Or you may actually think of Assassin's Creed, but anyway, you kind of think of that sniper type assassin, someone far away that can, stop a war with a single bullet, or stopping a battle with a single bullet. Anyway, let me go through all of the rules for these Vindicare Assassins then. So they are an elite choice, and they're a power points cost of a 5. The movement speed is 7 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill are 2+, strength 4, toughness 4, 5 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 9, and a save of 6+. It's a single model armed with 1 Exitus pistol, 1 Exitus rifle, and blind grenades. So that stat line is exactly the same as the Calidus Assassin. The Exitus pistol then. It's a range 12-inch, pistol 1, strength 4, AP -3, and damage D3. Invulnerable saves cannot be taken against attacks made with this weapon. This weapon wounds infantry units on a 2+. That is horrific. So forget about its strength being 4. Yes, it's only 1 shot, but it is armour penetration of -3, and you can't take invulnerable saves, and it wounds on 2+, and it's a damage of D3. Pretty decent pistol there. Now, the Exitus rifle is a 72-inch range. So we're talking about a sniper rifle that's double the range of your normal sniper rifles already. It's a heavy one, strength 5, AP -3, damage D3. Again, invulnerable saves cannot be taken against attacks made with this weapon, and the weapon wounds infantry units on a 2+. So the same stat line as the pistol, but has a strength 5. Doesn't matter about the strength because, it wounds on a 2+. Blind Grenade. That's a 12-inch grenade D6 weapon, and it doesn't inflict any damage, and you don't make any wound rolls, but instead, if a unit is hit by any blind grenades, you subtract 1 from all hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until the end of the turn. Very, very useful. You know, even if you're going to be chucking blind grenades at units, you're going to be reducing their firing capability. So abilities. The assassin has Execution Force, Independent Operative and Lightning Reflexes. I've gone through all those in the Calidus review, but I'll go through them here as well. Execution Force just means that as long as your Warlord has the Imperium keyword, you can include this unit in your army as part of a Vanguard detachment, even if that detachment contains no HQ units. However, if you do so, that detachment's command benefits are changed to none, unless that detachment contains exactly 1 Vindicare Assassin, 1 Calidus, 1 Eversaw and 1 Calexis. Independent Operative means that the model can never have a Warlord trait. During deployment, you can set this model up in a concealment instead of placing it on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phases, the model can reveal its position, set up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches away from enemy models. Pretty good. So you can just conceal it. And then Lightning Reflexes just means that he's got a 4+ invulnerable save. So they're the core abilities that all of the other assassins have. He actually also has 5 more abilities. This guy is really packing it for your points, and if I haven't already said it, he's a power points cost of a 5 and a points of 85 points. So the other abilities then. Deadshot. This model can target a character even if it is not the closest enemy unit. In addition, each time an unmodified wound roll of 6 is made for an attack with a ranged weapon by this model, the damage for that attack is D6. That's crazy. So you get a wound of 6 with a ranged weapon, you're going to get damage of D6 instead of that D3. Brilliant. So you can just pick off characters willy-nilly. Faultless Aim. If this model remains stationary in its previous movement phase, it always hits on a 2+ when firing a ranged weapon, regardless of modifiers. Hit rolls of 6 are still required when firing Overwatch. So we've still got to get 6s for Overwatch. I would have preferred it to be kind of like a John Wick kind of thing. You know, with Overwatch, he's sort of like, he's used to this so much that he's prepared for enemy units charging, and he can just do a bit of gung fu in a way. And you know, I would have preferred that if that was like a 4+, you know, 50-50 chance of overwatching, and that would really put him down as, you know, one of the best gunslingers in the galaxy. But unfortunately, he doesn't have that. He just but you know, if he doesn't move, it's 2+ to hit. That's pretty crazy. Headshot. After this model has made an attack with a ranged weapon, roll 1d6 if a model suffered damage from that attack but has not been slain. On a 3+, that model suffers 1 mortal wound, and if that model is not slain, you can roll 1 more d6. This time that model suffers 1 mortal wound on a 4+. Keep rolling 1d6, increasing the result required to cause a mortal wound by 1 each time until the model being rolled for is slain or the roll is failed. That's crazy. So that headshot, it's kind of like what I said about those turbo penetrator shells, in that the round just keeps going through and keeps suffering the mortal wound. So you want to be using this assassin against something with a lot of wounds, you know, even vehicles, hitting on 2s, but specifically at characters with high wounds and high toughnesses. Spy Mask. Enemy models do not gain the bonus to their saving throws for being in cover against attacks made with ranged weapons by this model. And Stealth Suit. Subtract 1 from hit rolls made for attacks with ranged weapons that target this model. If this model is on or in a terrain feature, subtract 2 instead. That's pretty good. Definitely adds to his survivability. You know, if you've got, I don't know, like Space Marine equivalents hitting on 3+ and he's in terrain, then clearly that's 5s to hit. Which helps his survivability, but he shouldn't really be close. He shouldn't be that close. You should have him as far back as possible, in my opinion, unless they've got a very strong melee or close combat focus, which this guy doesn't. He doesn't, you know, yes, he's got the little blade. It would have been nice if he had like a power dagger or something. I can't see why he wouldn't have anything like that, or a monomolecular edged blade or something like that. I can't see why an assassin wouldn't have that kind of dagger thing, that dagger kind of weapon. But because it's not in his rules here, I would always play to the unit's strength, which is that 72-inch range sniper rifle. Get him in cover as far back as possible and pick off characters from that range. Gone are the days where he has different ammo types. There's a bit of a resurgence in the new Vanguard Space Marines, particularly the Eliminators. They have 3 different shell types. It's a bit poor that this guy doesn't. They've kind of amalgamated all of those shell types into you know, the stat line of the rifle, dead shot and headshot. But there you go. You're going to be hitting on 2+ if he stays stationary. You're going to be wounded on 2+. 6s will grant you damage D6. 3+ will grant you a mortal wound, and they can keep building, and they're not going to get cover saves as well. So they're completely open with this assassin, and that's the whole point. That there is nowhere to hide. The only thing about this is a bit like the turbo penetrator rounds that, you know, can go through scenery and things. The only thing about this assassin that he's kind of lacking is that close combat, like Blade or something, and the fact that he has to see, you know, he has to have eyes on the character. So if you've got a character behind a building, this assassin, one of the galaxy's best assassins, won't be able to target him or her and take them out, which is a real shame, because I think in the rules there was something about he can see through walls, or he can do something like that, but you know, the spy mask only incorporates this, you know, they don't get saving throws from being in cover. His keywords: Imperium, Officio Assassinorum, Infantry, Character, Vindicare Assassin. So there you go. That is my full review of the Vindicare Assassin. Still one of my favourite units in the whole of Warhammer 40,000. I really like assassins. If you haven't already read the Horus Heresy novel Nemesis, I truly recommend it, because, well, without shedding any spoilers, they send a load of assassins to kill Horus. And yeah, through the book, it really goes into detail, much more than I've done, and much more than the Codex does, and much more than the White Dwarf magazine does, into the makeup of these assassins and their differences, and also sort of some of their similarities. Anyway, what do you guys think of the model and the rules? I love assassins in this Warhammer 40,000 universe. Please do put your comments and things down below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.